Well, hello, and welcome to Trash with a capital T. I'm your host, Bobby, and we are going to be doing another recommendation video today, specifically film recommendations, and these are very special films to me. We're going to be looking at some films from a studio that I have been obsessed with since I was a wee child, and that obsession has continued into adulthood. I still follow them, although I will say the quality of their films has changed a lot since I was a kid. But without further ado, today we are going to be talking about Full Moon. I believe Full Moon Entertainment is what's going by now. It's been Full Moon Studios, Full Moon Features, Full Moon Pictures. It has had many iterations over the years as it has kind of moved from being part of a larger studio to being a completely independent production company. So, if you can't tell, big fan. Wearing my Puppet Master shirt while we're talking about this. And that's actually where we're going to probably end up starting anyways. But let's get a little background on the studio and some of the people involved. Gotta get that chair up there. Okay. So Full Moon started as the straight-to-video genre arm of Paramount Studios. It was headed by Charles Band, who he and his father, Albert Band, have been working in B-movies for eons. Before Full Moon, he had a company called Empire, which did movies like Arena, Dolls, Ghoulies. So they were very familiar with the market. And with the increase of the home video market, big studios needed divisions that were going to handle production just for home video to meet the specific demands that these companies had. Companies like Blockbuster. Blockbuster did really like companies like Full Moon. So they started Full Moon. The first couple films, I want to say, I have the list up here, and I'm going to do this so I can also keep the screen up. The first couple films were released as Full Moon Productions. That was Puppet Master, Shadow Zone, and Meridian, Kiss of the Beast. And you can't see my hands because they're behind the mic. There we go. I just want to make sure you guys can hear me. Audio on these videos has been a nightmare for me. And I finally figured out how to get my good mic to work with my phone that I'm filming on. So, okay. But Full Moon made a place for itself within the video store environment. Their videos were all over the place. You could see that, like, their covers were very, the covers had a very distinct look. They were very almost comic booky, cartoony, over the top. They had films that fell more into sci-fi, like Crash and Burn, Doll Man, the Trancers films. But really, their bread and butter was horror. And if we're going to talk about what was bringing home the bacon with them, it was Puppet Master. The Puppet Master series has been going on since 1989. Just had to check when the first one came out. And there are still new ones being released to this day. I want to say Blade Iron Cross was released maybe 2 years ago. I think, Dr. Death came after that, which was one of the retro Puppet Master characters. So this is a series that is still ongoing. It had a reboot that I hated. We're not going to talk about it. It's dead to me. But that was the series that put Full Moon on the map. And if I'm going to recommend films from Full Moon, I have to recommend what I feel, and many people feel, is the best of not only the Puppet Master series, but of Full Moon's output, which is Puppet Master 3 Toulon's Revenge. So, Puppet Master 3 is a prequel of sorts to Puppet Master 1 and 2. It establishes the character of Andre Toulon, who is the original Puppet Master. He is played by Guy Rolfe, and he is established in this film as a hero, as are the puppets. Previously, the puppets were the bad guys. They don't really have a lot of choice when they get a bad puppet master, but the first two films were paranormal investigators or individuals show up at the Bodega Bay Hotel, spend the night, puppets kill them off. Turns out some nefarious person is controlling the puppets. Eventually, that nefarious person does something so nefarious that the puppets turn against them. And rinse and repeat for those first two films. They're not bad. They are not bad. They are just, pretty standard horror films. They weren't really working to establish continuity. The third film, however, does try and establish a continuity. it also changes how the puppets act. So while in the first, they still kill people, but now they're killing Nazis. Now they are the good guys. Because killing Nazis in these movies means you're the good guys. And I agree. So now they are the good guys. And that carries on for 4 and 5. Those were the Paramount produced ones. It gets a little hazy as you go on into the series because it depends who is kind of controlling the puppets. Andre Toulon as a character also continues on throughout the series. Not always played by Guy Rolfe, but when he is, he's played well. When he's not, he's played by one of the guys who inspired The Room. That's Retro Puppet Master, which I still recommend it. Like, all of these movies are fun. Some of the later ones get a little boring. Like, once you get to the Axis of Evil movies, they kind of try and fill in some gaps between part 3 and, like, the more modern set stuff. Nothing really happens. There's 3 films, could have been 1. It's very boring, but 3 is great. It has a lot of action. There's a lot of fun effects. The direction and acting are pretty good. As I said, I already mentioned Guy Rolfe playing Andre Toulon. We also have Ian Abercrombie, who's playing one of the Nazi scientists, who kind of falls in with Toulon to try and like stop the Nazis. And you have Sarah Douglas, the amazing Sarah Douglas. Most people know her from Superman 2. She plays Ilsa Toulon, Andre Toulon's wife. And it's a great adventure. Oh, I gotta pull up this kid's name. He was not a kid when he filmed it, but he always looks like a kid. He was on, I want to say this is him. Yes. Aaron Eisenberg also plays this young boy who befriends Toulon. Aaron Eisenberg is a very interesting actor. He, most people probably know him as Nog from, I think he was Nog, on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. He was a great character on there. He recently, sadly, passed away from, I want to say it was kidney failure. The interesting thing about him is he was an adult, I'm pretty sure, when he filmed this movie, but because of some of his health issues, he appeared fairly young. He also is in the great Amityville, The Evil Escapes. That's the 4th movie. It's Patty Duke versus a lamp. He plays Patty Duke's son. He's supposed to be like 12. He was like 24 when he filmed it. But he does a good job. His accent's a little wonky. But I want to mention him because he seemed like a really cool guy in everything I saw, especially when it came to the Star Trek stuff. And it's really sad that he's no longer here. But he did a good job. So you have this really fun cast. You have the puppets. You have some great stop motion work. Even the puppetry work is really good. It's just a fun time. And it probably encapsulates everything that works best with the Puppet Master films, but also the Full Moon movies in general. It's got a touch of the low budget sleaze, but it doesn't push it too hard. There's a little nudity in the film, just a heads up if you're thinking of showing your kids. I wouldn't. Maybe there's other movies on this list that you could start with. But it really does bring up like all of the best of what those films were. It's very comic booky, and it does establish a solid continuity for the series, which if you ever get a chance, I know I'm rambling, it's because I love this series. If you ever get a chance, there is a Puppet Master comic book series that was published by Action Labs. And these guys, the people who did this series, I don't have their names in front of me. I'm not going to turn to the computer to look them up. But if you can read them, they take everything in these like 10 films and boil it down and actually make a continuity that makes sense. I was blown away by how good that comic book series was. Sadly, it did not last super long. But if you get a chance to read it, if you are a fan of Puppet Master like I am, you owe it to yourself to read the Action Labs Puppet Master comic. It is amazingly good. And it really gives a lot of depth to the puppets. And like the people who were the puppets before. I was really blown away by how well it was written. Okay. Let's stop gushing. I'm going to move on to another favorite of mine from Full Moon. This one is a little darker. It's a Stuart Gordon film, so of course it's based on a classic horror short story. It's Pit and the Pendulum, with Lance Henriksen as Torquemada. And this one is very dark. Lance Henriksen gives the performance of a career as Torquemada. They bring in some other stories from Edgar Allan Poe as well, and kind of work it into this diabolical plot. It works really well, and it feels much more serious than a lot of the Full Moon movies. There is some humor in it. Don't get me wrong. The cast is awesome. You have Jeffrey Combs in there. You have some really heavy hitters as far as genre actors go. And Stuart Gordon was he was a great director. He knew what he was doing. So he creates a very rich look for the film. Obviously, this was low budget, but it doesn't feel like it. It kind of has the feel of the old school Roger Corman Poe adaptations. It is very thoughtful and well acted and a little campy. It understands what it is, but it is probably the most mature of the Full Moon movies. It is very dark. It is very dark. It includes, it's not, again, we're not talking Hostel or Saw or anything like that, but you are dealing with the Spanish Inquisition and you're dealing with people being tortured and it's not a pretty picture, but it's also a very fun adventure. And fun little side note. So Full Moon, in the early 2000s, they did not have the rights to a lot of the movies they produced under Paramount. So they were very difficult to find. What they did, they had a stock of, you could either buy the Laserdiscs, which I did end up doing. I bought a Laserdisc machine specific player so I could specifically watch some of these movies. But they also would sell you the scripts for these films. And one of the scripts that I bought this, I bought Meridian, and I want to say I bought Subspecies 2. Because I could not find those movies for the life of me. So I bought the script for Pit and the Pendulum, and I read it in the scripts read fast. I was blown away. The script was really strong, and it shows up on camera. It is a well-done production. I believe it was shot on location in Rome. It's a beautiful film. Very dark, very fun, but definitely one of the more mature films that Full Moon ever produced. While at the same time, and like I said, if Lance Henriksen he's a great actor. He goes for broke. He's one of those guys. I love these kinds of actors. He was like this. Patty Duke was like this. Jeffrey Combs is like this. It does not matter how big or small the film is. When they are there, they are giving 110% at all times. They are giving their best performance. And I think Lance Henriksen really deserves a lot of kudos for being absolutely terrifying as Torquemada in this one. He would make Vincent Price very frickin' proud. Highly recommend this one. Just be ready. There is some dark moments in there. There's also some fun moments. There's a witch who befriends one of the main characters who gets some sassy moments and some solid revenge involving gunpowder. It's quite fun. I would say if you're a little more gore averse, maybe back off of that one. But the next one I'm going to mention is perfect for a starter movie. It's definitely a lot tamer than the first two I've said. It leans a little closer to... Oh, I didn't pull it up. It leans a little closer to fantasy and sci-fi. Still has a fun cast. Seth Green's in this one. We also have Megan Ward, who was a B-movie regular. I absolutely love her. She spent a bunch of time on General Hospital. I loved her there. You have John Delancey from Star Trek again. Star Trek and Full Moon, especially in the 90s, had a lot of crossover. AJ Langer from My So-Called Life is in this one. I'm talking about Arcade from 1993, directed by Albert Pune, who is not the most highly regarded director. However, I think this one was quite a fun movie. It leans more towards the teen crowd. A lot of young characters. No nudity, violence really pulled back. There are some super cheesy 3D CG effects in this one, which for the budget of the film and the time period it was made, actually came out really well. And there's some fun moments. There's some fun soundtrack. It is not my all-time favorite, but the more I watch it, the more I appreciate how solid it is as a film. And technically what they had to go through to get this movie to work. It is perfect for starting. Like I said, it does deal with some dark themes, and there's a little bit of violence, but no gore, no sex, no nudity. And it's definitely more playful over being trying to be frightening. There's some really gooey moments in this one when they're in like in the world of arcade. It's basically kids get sucked into a video game, and if you die in the video game, you die in real life. Um, and it's it's just a fun one, and you're gonna get all the '90s feels for it, the clothing, the actors, this like the grunginess of the arcade that they film in, and of course the CGI. It's special. But it works. For a low budget movie at that time, it looks no worse than what you saw in Lawnmower Man, and that movie had a much bigger budget. Um, yeah, this is probably, especially if you have younger horror fans, this is a good starting movie. Because it does lean a little more sci-fi, but it's definitely still a horror film. It's a good my first horror movie. The plot, like I said, is not complicated. None of these plots are super complicated. Um, but the plot is these kids get exposed to a video game where it pulls you in, it like attaches to your brain, and if you die in the video game, it steals your soul. And there's something in the video game that is doing this, and it's all convoluted when it comes out what it really is. It's kind of goofy, but all these movies are kind of goofy. That's their charm. Um, yeah, God, I can remember sitting and watching this movie. I had a family member who worked with a distribution company for films, and she would let me know when these movies were coming. So I was like I knew when it was coming out. I grabbed it, first one to watch it, and I remember just being so drawn in by all of these movies. Like it was like watching your favorite TV show. It was just the experience of watching them, because they also were kind of made for kids my age. So it was exciting. I don't really have that anymore. Like, I don't know if people still have that anymore. You don't really have low budget movie factories like you had with Corman and like you had with Band. Band is still doing this, but he can't do it to the scale that he used to. The market's just not there. His movies now are like 60 minutes long. They're fun. They're all on Tubi. They're very fun. But, they're not what they used to be. But low budget movies in general are not what they used to be. All right. Enough reminiscing. So this is going to be the last one I mention of like the old school era. And that is going to be one that a lot of people do not like. But I love. Because it is goofy as all hell. It is 1992's Bad Channels. Space alien takes over a radio station and uses mind control and music videos to kidnap women. It does not take itself seriously at all. The alien looks like a giant hemorrhoid on legs. He has a little robot friend with a visible brain. And one of the lead actors in this one is former VJ from MTV, Martha Quinn. And you also have B-movie regulars like Charlie Spradling in here. It is so lighthearted. It is so fun. It could have gone very pervy and gross. It does not. It avoids all of that. It's really, really an old school 1950s style B-movie that's just enjoyable. The music video segments are okay for the most part. They're mostly forgettable and fall into like hair metal territory. But then you have the Nurse's music video, which is Manic Depresso, I think is the song. I forget the name of the band. Let me see if I can see it. It doesn't list it. Oh, wait, hold on. There's the album. So, fun fact, Blue Oyster Cult did the actual score for the film, and I think some of their music pops up here or there. But they did a Psychotic Symphony, their song Manic Depresso. Psychotic Symphony is proto Slipknot, kind of. I think one of the guys from Psychotic Symphony went on to Slipknot. But they're in full costume. These costumes look like Saturday morning costumes. They're very goofy and big and bright. Unlike Slipknot's, which were much more disturbing. The song is bonkers. But it works. And the way it's shot, Ted Nicolau is the director of this one. He also did the Subspecies series. He's a Full Moon regular. I forgot to say, David Dakota directed Puppet Master 3. He'll come up again. I have an honorable mention for him. It's special. But it's just this fun, goofy movie, and the acting is over the top, and it's not always great, but the characters are big and widely drawn. It's aiming for that 1950s drive-in feel, and it achieves it. And it does it in a way that is not mean, that is not gross, and that I thought was actually freaking funny in a lot of spots. Not always, but there are some good moments, and the acting is pretty solid for what it is. For what they were aiming for, I think they got it. And this is another one. You could start this one early. It's a little. It's not sleazy. It could be. It almost feels like it tried to be, and then they were just like, nah, let's just have fun with it. Except for a couple F-bombs, this movie could have been PG-13. I love it. There's no gore. There's no violence. It is pure cheese. It is a good time. Watch it with some friends. Make fun of it. Bad Channels is probably one of those movies that the more I watch it over the years, the more I absolutely love it. Because it's so unlike everything else I was seeing at that time. And it is probably one of those ones that does not get enough love, and I think it should. I think the Blu-ray just came out like last year. And that makes me sad. I need to get my hands on it. But like, I adore this film. And no one seems to like it but me. Well, no, in college when my friends and I watched it, we enjoyed ourselves. It's goofy and fun and B-movie gold. Go in understanding it's not a horror movie. It's barely a monster movie. It's just trying to be a campy good time. It's the same thing with like Terror Vision, kind of has the same feeling, although this one is much less. Terror Vision could get mean. Bad Channels is much kinder. It's much softer. So it's also good if you're like me and you have mental health days where you're just like, I can't take anything heavy. This is the one for you. No one dies. Nothing. The worst thing that happens is some music plays and a lady gets transported to a bottle for a little bit. And then, the adventure continues. It's really good. I love it. I highly recommend you check it out. Get some friends over, pop some popcorn, and just go for the ride. Bring your own chemicals if you're going to be doing something like that. I can't say do it or don't do it, but I actually prefer watching this one sober because I like to actually pay attention to the film. I enjoy it. And it was one of those ones, I will say this. It's funny because when I was a kid, I first saw this one on cable. I didn't even rent it. But because of the fact that it had Charlie Spradling, who I knew from Puppet Master 2 and To Sleep with a Vampire, and because the women kind of dance when the music video happens, I thought it was a dirty movie. And I didn't watch it for a while. Then I finally saw it all the way through, and I was like, oh, this is not dirty. This is not dirty. This is not mean. This is just fun. So, highly recommend that one, guys. Highly recommend it. Martha Quinn is even good in that movie. She is really fun. Who plays Dan O'Dare? Oh, God, what is his name? Sorry. Paul Hipp plays Dan O'Dare. I looked up his career. He's got a music career. He's a very well-established artistic, music, acting, everything. Apparently he played Jesus in Bad Lieutenant. I can't bring myself to watch that movie. I've seen the sequel with Nicolas Cage. It was batshit insane. But he does a great job. The whole cast does a really good job. Highly recommend Bad Channels. Just check it out. Just do it. I should have started with this one because I'm glowing about this, but just check it out. Okay. So, I'm going to move us out of the Paramount era of films. I have a harder time picking movies out of this period because they are very hit and miss, and they can sometimes lean a little on the offensive, intentionally so, as part of the joke. But not everyone enjoys those jokes. And some of those movies, like Blood Dolls, which leans really heavily into racist stereotypes, can be super problematic for people. I find parts of it interesting. I generally like the puppet designs in that one, but I can't recommend that one. And some of that period I just skipped altogether because I was like, it just looks like it's offensive to be offensive. And it was. But there are two that I'm going to call out from the later period. Now, I'm not touching the Shadow Entertainment movies. Those were the slashers that were done for specifically the blockbuster market. They don't fit the full moon mold. They're definitely more gory, really heavily lean on nudity. Surprisingly, a lot of male nudity. That's like Bleed, Birthright, and Delta Delta Die. Delta Delta Die is a really fun movie, but it is very gory. It involves cannibal sorority sisters. If you get a chance to watch it, watch it. I had a blast. However, we're going to move on to the two final full moon movies that I want to talk about. The first is Hideous. Hideous follows the tradition of full moon of having little creatures or dolls that run around. These are deformed fetuses that have gained life. Sounds very offensive, is kind of offensive. Don't care, movie is a riot. So basically, you have two people who are, I think Charles Band actually directed this one. Let me pull that up. You have collectors of oddities who are trying to find the most hideous and deformed critters. Now, they think they're dead. The critters are dead. They're not. They're alive, and they are kind of pissed off. So, bad things happen. But you get rich idiots fighting over these little monsters, and the little monsters basically say, screw you, and fight back. It is so fun. The cast is mostly B-movie actors. I'm trying to think. Jacqueline Lavelle is in there. She was a Full Moon regular for a while. She did Head of the Family, which I did not like, but a lot of people love. She has an interesting run in this one. Mel Johnson Jr.'s in there. And this one is interesting because it ties into some of the other series that I haven't mentioned. But just Hideous, you can watch it on your own. It's very goofy. It definitely leans a little more sleazy. There's a little more nudity in this one. There's definitely a little... The violence is way pulled back. These movies did not have the budget for gore. I'm surprised they had the budget for nudity. But the puppet work in this one is still really fun. The puppets themselves are very fun. There's one that's like this swollen-headed baby-looking thing that has tendrils that come out and can move around. There's some fun CG work with that one. There's one called Crybaby who's like this big, but he looks like a little strong man, and he just cries. He's just like the whole movie. He's adorable. He's also a malformed tumor-looking thing, but he's adorable. And the movie has a heavy sense of humor. This one does not take itself seriously at all. It is comedy wall to wall. So if you want something very goofy, this is on the cheaper end. It will look it. But if you want something goofy and fun, definitely check this one out. To give you an idea, yes, you have the little monsters running around. When in the beginning of the movie, Jacqueline Lavelle plays one of the men's henchwoman. And she carjacks the other rich guy to get his little fetus in a cooler. And she does it while wearing nothing but hot pants, shoes, and a gorilla mask. So she's topless. And it sounds salacious. It's just so goofy. It's hilarious. That's all I can tell you. You can't take these movies super seriously, especially in this era, because they kind of replaced the budget with humor. They understood their movies were going to start looking cheaper. They don't look bad. They do not look bad. And let me see. I want to clarify. Yeah, Charles Band did direct this one. And he's actually he knows what he's doing behind a camera, and he knows how to make a cheap movie look good. So Hideous does look really solid. It's definitely on the fun side. It's not as appropriate as Bad Channels or as Arcade. I would not be showing this one to the kiddos. But you and your friends, if you're sitting down and you want to cackle at something, go for it. It is definitely worth making fun of. I'm pretty sure Elvira has covered this one. And I think William Shatner covered it when he did his late night movie show on Sci-Fi. He covered this one. He did a movie for Full Moon called Groom Lake. I've never seen it. I heard it was not good. It was also, I don't think a lot of people loved it, but I can't comment too much because obviously not seen it. Okay, let's get to, this video is going long, so let's get to the last movie. This one is special. This is Full Moon's real only true zombie film. They do have movies that have zombies in them, and I think The Dead Want Women is kind of a zombie film, but this is like a true blue zombie film. It's inspired by the likes of Lucio Fulci with Zombie and George Romero with his, the Dead series that he did. It obviously does not have the skill or budget behind it like those did, but it is still a rip-roaring good time. And that is The Dead Hate the Living. This is one of those movies I've noticed people either love it or hate it. I love it. I love that it, yes, while working in a small budget, manages to get some solid effects work out there. The zombies themselves are quite interesting. Some of them can speak and have more characters. Some of them are more just shambling monsters. But they play with that a little bit throughout the film. General setup of the film is a bunch of indie filmmakers are trying to make a zombie movie, so they're in an abandoned hospital. While there, they find this weird casket, and inside they find a corpse, and they decide to incorporate it into the film. Well, what they don't realize is this giant casket thing can bring the dead back to life, and it does. And bad things happen, because you shouldn't mess around with weird occult-looking objects, especially in abandoned hospitals. Especially if they have dead bodies in them. The characters are quite dumb. But the movie itself is quite fun, and the effects work is pretty solid. I keep saying that, but I have seen some bad effects in even full moon movies, but in low-budget horror movies. The effects here, we're not talking like AAA Hollywood, but they're good for what they are. And there's a decent amount of zombie, chase scenes and Gru and all of that. But it's a fun time. I've seen this one a couple times, and every time I enjoy it. I enjoy it, and I'm a little zombied out, but I still have fun with this one because it's trying to do something a little different. And it shows its inspiration from not just, Romero, who I love. Don't get me wrong. I love the Romero movies. But no one can do Romero like Romero can. Or could. May he rest in peace. Although my favorite Romero movie is actually Bruiser. We'll get into that one in a different video. But it's a fun time. All of these movies that I've recommended today are a fun time. They are not super serious. They are not movies that are going to make you feel gross after you're watching them. They are good B-movie camp. They are enjoyable. Most of the old school Full Moon Library is, and some of the new school. And I did mention that David Dakota was going to get an honorable mention at the end of this. So I am not recommending this movie because I don't actually think it's particularly good. But it is absolutely hilarious. So David Dakota would eventually leave Full Moon to create... To create a studio called Rapid Heart. And these movies were aimed at young women. David Dakota was an openly gay man, by the way. But they would feature attractive young men who... There was no nudity, by the way. It would feature attractive young men who, at some point in the film, would probably end up in their tighty whities, having a bad dream and, touching their chest. There's no sex. There's no sexual stuff. But you do get the male gaze here is definitely gay. And Voodoo Academy, which was produced by Full Moon, was the prototype for those later films. And when it first came out, Charles Band didn't know what the hell to do with it. So the original cut of the movie that was released was heavily cut down to remove a lot of the more homoerotic elements. A lot of the chest rubbing. The movie's not good. The general gist is a young man is going to a boarding school. The director there is stealing the guy's souls and trapping them in little voodoo dolls. It is notable for the cast. Let me pull this up. I have it up somewhere. There we go. You have Riley Smith, who was a 90s regular. You saw him in a ton of stuff, including Disney Disney TV movies. I can't remember which one. Motocrossed, I think, was his big one. He was also in Eight-Legged Freaks. He was a regular. You had one of the guys, I can't remember his name. You had one of the guys from Bring It On in here. And a B-movie, a Full Moon goddess, Deborah Mayer, who plays the headmistress of the school. And I believe she has passed away, which when I found that out, I was a little heartbroken because she was really good in these movies. She did, and she was one of those actresses who always seemed like she was having fun with the parts. And she did a bunch of these. Her best for me was probably Stitches. But We're gonna do. I'll probably have to do a follow up to this because as I'm talking, I'm remembering more great movies from the later half of, or the latter half, however you want to pronounce it, of Full Moon's run. But this one, I gotta mention it because it is so absolutely hilarious. It's not good. It is not good. And if you want good ones, I'll do a Rapid Heart video later because I watched all of those. You might recognize them. They did a series of films called The Brotherhood, where it's like the Brotherhood, the Brotherhood Young Warlocks, the Brotherhood Young Demons, and then the Brotherhood 4 was like the Complex. There's like 5 or 6 of these. They're not great, although the first couple are okay. There's also a Sisterhood with Barbara Crampton. I'll do it. You know what? That's a separate video. I have been talking for far too long. This video is almost 40 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up here. Highly recommend checking out these films. I'll list them down in the description below, so it'll be easier for you guys to find them. All of them are on Tubi, including Voodoo Academy, if you dare. That one I would recommend maybe having a drink or two or something to make it a little easier because those movies can be quite tedious. But, okay. Love what you love. Enjoy what you're reading and watching. And have an amazing morning, afternoon, or evening. And I will see you all in the next one. And I hope you enjoyed my full moon recommendations and me gushing about some movies that were very, very important to me. All right, guys. Have a good one.